Okay, welcome back to the show. And I have a man on the show today that I can't believe I actually haven't had on before because he does a lot of great work and we have a lot of similar interests. But he's here today, Mr. Mike Larkin, who's a podcaster and a ring announcer for the LFC.
First and foremost, it's a pleasure and privilege, Maurice. And after looking at that lineup that I'm now being included in, man, I'm honored, man. That is a friggin' great list, and it's a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you for having me.
No problem, man. That's a kind of an old list. It'll have to be updated now soon. So we're kind of similar. Like you put out a lot of content, I put out a lot of content. I could probably put out 3 or 4 episodes a week if I wanted, but I'm cutting it back to two just to give myself a little bit of time with work and everything as well.
Hey, you have to. As someone who just is always on the grind himself from work in a podcasting stance, I know the feeling. So absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. For yourself, then, man, do you want to give us a little bit of a background about yourself and how you became involved, first of all, in the podcasting end of things?
Oh, absolutely. So it was probably around New Year's Eve 2014. My best friend Steve Nikifor and I were just sitting around and we were talking about, hey, you know what? Maybe we should do this podcasting stuff. And I got to give it to him because he was the one that initially convinced me. Now, if you look at the 2014 time frame, what was the biggest wrestling podcast out there? The Art of Wrestling. CM Punk had just quit the WWE. It was all the
Yeah.
rage of the year 2014, right? So
Yeah.
going into 2015, I said, you know what I want to do, Dad? I want to get into podcasting. And my dad, who I love to death. My parents actually were in radio for over 20, 30 plus years. They worked at a radio station on Long Island. So my dad got me a mic, and the rest was history. We started podcasting in the summer of 2015, and I started doing podcasting with him. Then interviews sufficed around the year 2016. And here I am now doing my thing with the LFC, Lingerie Fighting Championships.
Did you learn much from your dad?
Oh my goodness. Learning from my mom and learning from my dad with what they got to do with radio, pretty much all they just told me was just always be professional, stay humble. And that's one of the biggest lessons that I could always learn from my parents because they were both very hardworking, very passionate, very professional people. So that is something that I always have that really is instilled in me.
I guess that they find it pretty surprising, like I do, like, because I went to college. It's about 10 years now since I'm out of college, and I went to study video and film. And never did I think I could be in a situation where you can nearly have a studio in your house now and you can do all this stuff. Like it doesn't cost like thousands of dollars or whatever. Like it's possible just to do it yourself, even on your phone.
Well, that's the beauty of the old DIY. I know I'm not talking about Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. I'm talking about do it yourself. Well, Maurice, that's the mentality. You know what I'm saying? Everything is at our fingertips. Technology has advanced so much over the years. So, I mean, hey, it's an advantage and it's a pleasure and a privilege, if you will, in its own right.
I done the first 57 episodes of my podcast on my fucking iPhone 5.
Wow. Okay.
And there was some pretty famous people on there and I didn't want to tell them, oh, this has been recorded on a phone because there would have been no chance.
Exactly. Well, some people do that too now with apps like, for instance, Anchor, which is a very popular audio platform. You can do it from your computer, do it for your phone, have different segments, and whoop it all together. So, I mean, it's easy, it's simplistic, but at the same time, like you said, like you're having famous people like, oh, by the way, this was recorded on my phone. So,
Yeah,
I,
that was
I hear
that
you.
that was never said anyway. Let's talk a little bit about the lingerie fighting championships, okay? How did you become involved with the guys?
Ooh, so probably around 2018, 2019, I started doing interviews for LFC. Now, here's what's interesting. My first ever person who I had on from LFC that I didn't even know was Allie Parker, who's also a professional wrestler. Allie Baby Doll Parks was her name in LFC. So I reached out to her and we were talking about wrestling. And then as I'm writing my notes and jotting everything down on what I want to talk about, I saw this promotion LFC and I'm like, LFC, this is interesting. This is new. Then I click on it. I'm like, okay, lingerie fighting championship. This is well. Besides the fact that we have beautiful women in lingerie, Maurice, I'm like, okay, this is fun. It's kind of equates to like when we had the LFL, the Lingerie Football League, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then you see who is in a list of professional wrestling that is from there that has gotten to do the work in LFC. And then I started getting more to the girls, and I'm like, all right, this is cool. So I started dipping my toe and interviewing a lot of talents. Then by man, about a year or two later, I start doing the podcast stuff. They need an idea, they needed a host, and then boom, here I come. And then that's where Beauty, Strength, and Dominance came into fruition.
Yeah, they've got an amazing following because, as you know, like I've had some of the fighters on as well. But like yourself, I was kind of scrolling through Twitter and it came up as a suggested ad, lingerie fighting championships. And I this was only in 2019. I did not know this existed. So I had a look at it and I was like, same as you. I was like, right, I like wrestling, you know, and there's a little bit of MMA. I'm not too big into the MMA. We watch some Conor McGregor, or if any of the wrestling guys cross over like Brock, or when Punk did as well. But I thought, like, this is absolutely brilliant. So I got in contact with Sean, and then from there, that's how I started interviewing. Now I haven't had an interview with the LFC in quite a while, apart from yourself here now. So hopefully get a few more back on this year.
I know you will, and I look at it from a stance too as well. LFC is very accommodating, very professional. And at the end of the day, it's a team effort from Van with what he does with the webmaster stuff, with what Sean does as CEO, and everything that goes into it. From myself on the podcast, we have such a great group, and it's such a professional group of people that want to get involved, have some fun, and look good as doing as only they could do, which is LFC. A little bit of MMA, a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of clothing, as the saying goes with it.
They've got such a big following.
Oh yeah, it's just
Yeah.
it's amazing to think that something that was like a mockumentary of the UFC and the reality show based, and then here we are. We're doing shows in Las Vegas, we're doing shows in Slovakia, we're doing international stuff. It's like, who would have thought that something like this would grow to be some heights? You know what I'm saying? I mean, look at who we've had, man. Like, look at this particular one. We've had Vita Von Star from Ring of Honor. We've had Selena De La Renta from MLW, Katie Forbes. Like, these last few shows, we've hit on some big names.
Yeah, and it's great that something like this hasn't been cancelled. With the way the world is and the sensitivity. I think LFC and Sean like have a bit of backbone, and they're going to go with this. And to be fair to the LFC, it's not as if the girls don't want to do it. Like, the girls are well looked after in LFC.
Yes, they are, man. And it's one of those things too where people look at it, exploitation. I'm like, no, I mean, when it comes to this, these are very powerful, empowered people. I look at it from a stance as well. There's the fitness aspect, the finesse, everything that goes into it. And plus, who doesn't love a beautiful woman in lingerie? Like I mentioned earlier with the LFL. Lingerie Football League, you know what I'm saying? Look at who's one of the all-stars of it. Danielle Monet, who would go on to be Summer Rae in the WWE, who's now back for the Rumble. She's an all-star. So, I mean, if you have a person like that come from it, and now doing her thing in professional wrestling for years and now coming back into it. I mean, come on, right?
Yeah. If you and the girls as well, they've all got their own kind of unique followings from separate things that they've got going on in their life as well, whether it be adult movies and wrestling or different things like that. How do you find? Because some people, when I say it to them, "Oh, I interviewed this person and she's an adult film star," and they're kind of like, "I wouldn't be able to do it," or "Why did you do it?" Do you ever like you're a pretty professional guy? Like, you just sit back and you just ask the questions, and I see them the way that you see them. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. These are professional people, entertainment, and I think adult movie world is just a kind of spin-off of the entertainment industry. Would you agree with that?
Well, first and foremost, you just told the story of the past 5 years when I started working with adult entertainment people. My goodness gracious, Maurice. No. But that's the thing. People look at you sideways. It's like, you're interviewing a porn star. And I had one of my friends dear friends since high school, asked me, he's like, Mike, how do you do that? How do you like keep your composure? I'm like, well, at the end of the day, you have to be very open-minded and professional, like you mentioned. But I'm like, it's the adult entertainment world. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing as movies. They're just incorporating, the use of their bodies, absolutely. But also at the same time, there's still people like you and I. You know what I'm saying? It's a great industry to encompass from behind the scenes and in front of the camera. So it's like, I'm fine with that. I agree with you, man. Like, who cares? And also, the opportunity comes when you're interviewing all people of facets of life, and people ask you why. Just look at them and go, why not? Because everybody has a story to tell.
Yeah. And how do you research the girls then when you want to give a guest on?
Well, for me, from the adult side of things, I look at it from a stance too as well. Obviously, there's their social media and their websites, but I mean, you just type it in, and mind you, as I say, when I've worked in market research, as the end of the surveys go, for research purposes only. For research purposes only, I have seen some of their work, their films on their site and stuff. So that's what I want to talk to. And of course, you can also know about modeling and everything that incorporates the imagery side of things. So you incorporate that and you have a fun time.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to talk about. I think I've lost my trail of thought now. I did have a question. Yes. Yes. Back to LFC for a second. And you were ring announcer for the last event. Was that the first time you done that? And were you nervous?
Nervous was an understatement, man. I felt like Ricky Bobby and Talladega Nights. I don't know what to do with my hands. So it's one of those things too, where it's like it's nerve wracking because you're here, you're doing the podcasting stuff, but then when you're in front of the people, it's like I was not the only one nervous. We had new people that were fighting, such as MJ, the Dominator, Domino, and so many people that LFC audience have not seen yet. They were nervous as hell, but at the end of the day, it's fun. We're on pay-per-view. It's on demand. It's at the FSW Arena, Future Stars of Wrestling. It's in Las Vegas. So, I mean, the nerves are there, but at the same time, we all want to entertain and have fun and really put on a show for the people. But for me, oh my goodness gracious, yes. But being in front of that was so fun, and it's definitely an experience I want to do again in the new year.
Yeah. If you were to talk to somebody right now that has never heard of LFC, why should they watch it?
Why should they watch it? Well, besides the fact of the word L, lingerie, I would say this: beautiful women that are, like I mentioned, the beauty, strength, and dominance moniker. So, for those that don't know, beauty, strength, and dominance is not just the name of the podcast that I host. It's a mindset that I came up with, right? It's
Mhm.
beauty, strength, and dominance, the three key elements that make women the work of art that they are, because it's just it right there. Look at the operative words: work of art. It's beautiful women going out there, very empowering and very much showcasing their tenure, their talent, and everything that goes into LFC. It's something new. We have wrestling, MMA, and jiu-jitsu with sex appeal. So if anybody wants to check it out, go out of your way and watch it, because it is a fun time and it's something that's very unique and it's a preference for a lot of people. So I would say pretty much just go for it and just and have fun, entertain yourself, and just see a lot of beautiful women incorporating their stuff and showcasing their talents.
Yeah. From the outside looking in at the company, from the girls and from Sean, it seems like it's a really tight-knit locker room that they're all kind of like a family. But did you feel from being on the show that there was definitely a bit of competitive nature there as well when the bell rings?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you watch Bella Inc. going against Veronica Valentine, if you watch T. Bella Madison and Bella Rockefeller, who won the
Yeah.
first Steve Madness, there's
The
some
two the two of those girls were absolutely brilliant, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. No, dude, that's what comes with the show. Everybody, they were wonderful. And I look at it from a stance too as well. These are two girls who went in there, no bullshit, beat the living crap out of each other. They came
Yeah.
out with their own music, and I mean, they made it a spectacle. They made it a production. And then the other two, Sheena Bathory and Shay Lynn, who won LFC Madness too. Those girls were in there for a fight, and this was their first time, so they wanted to go out there and showcase why they won the LFC Madness tournament. So I mean, there's a lot of competitiveness, but for me, it was just getting to see everybody. There was a lot of hugs. There was a lot of smiles, and seeing a lot of people, like such as my peers and the new girls. I mean, it was a time, but there is definitely some competitiveness there. I mean, who doesn't? You know what I'm saying? Who doesn't love a good competitive bout? Besides, like we mentioned in lingerie, but girls that just want to steal the show, man.
Yeah, it's probably nice to meet up with people in person as well rather than do this. And hopefully someday we might meet up in person. You never know.
Oh, dude, I will give you the biggest handshake and the biggest, heartiest of hugs, my friend. Absolutely. And for
And then
me,
and then we'll go straight out with the hand sanitizer and just to keep it all
of
keep it all
course,
legit.
of course, dude. But no, I mean, for me, the one thing that really was an honor for me, and I've said this in every show, like for me, just meeting the girls, seeing the smiles and giving them hugs and seeing the peers that I've interviewed, but seeing them face to face was wonderful. One of the people that really stood out to me was he was a judge, and it was his first time. Tommy Bell does amazing art. Definitely check him out on Instagram, Tommy Bell Art. Tommy Bell was, I was shaking his hand. He's saying, "Hey, we're talking about just, oh my God, this is nuts. Can you believe we're here?" And he goes, "Mike, I got to tell you, it's an honor to shake your hand." And that kind of really, like, not just humbled me, but also just made me realize it's like, man, like your words and your actions, which is something that I convey within my shows and how I, conduct myself as a person. It's like, man, the stuff that you say and the stuff that you do is very empowering. It keeps you going, and it just makes you realize, like, the impact you have in a person's life.
In terms of the podcast, then aside from the LFC, you've got your own podcast on YouTube as well, and you're restarting the YouTube channel. Do you want to tell us what happened? It's pretty funny anyway.
Oh, geez, Louise. Okay, so for those that don't know, Maurice will have this in the
I
description. It's
I did warn you there a couple of
I
minutes
know you
ago.
did. Oh,
Yeah.
jeez. So, yeah. All right. So I've interviewed a lot of people in the adult entertainment industry, and mind you, there's no nudity in the photos. There's no nudity on the broadcast, but it's like
Except for one.
except for one that did not get banned and is going to be on the LFC Roku, except for one, and she's been one of your beautiful guests, and y'all know I'm
Yeah.
going to say right now, Flora Cross.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just the fact of too much porn, I guess, for on the channel, even though it's like no nudity or nothing at all. It's just people clothed and just talking about the industry. But hey, whatever. Yeah.
I've had a situation where I've got thumbnails had to be removed,
Yeah.
and then because I went over 1,000 subscribers there in November, I'm monetized now, but I'm not making fucking no money anyway. So, but they'll demonetize some of the videos, and then you have to appeal them, and then
Yeah.
they'll check them and all that kind of thing. It's really it's a minefield to try and operate correctly on YouTube these days, I think.
Yeah, and that's the thing with all social media, the guidelines and the restrictions. And I'm like, I've seen worse stuff like out on the internet. Like, come on, man, just like a photo of them, like a modeling pose or whatever, and it's like, oh, there's
Mm.
partial nudity there, and I'm like, all right, but yeah, no. So the YouTube now, I will say this, it's the easiest to find. It's just my face from the event holding a microphone in my suit, so people can follow that, and I hope you do because there's going to be a lot of great content coming.
Yeah, I will have the proper link in the description because when I made this, your channel was still active at the time. So, what about your old interviews then and videos that you've uploaded? Can you still
Sure.
get them, or do you have hard copies of them?
I do have hard copies of them, and I'm sure I'll put them out in due time. You know what I'm saying? They're all audio, but I can make a nice little video or slideshow to them. So those you guys can find at soundcloud.com/mclarkin92. I mean, I'll be honest with you, dude. My first ever actual interview was, and here's a name that a lot of people will take back. Evan Courageous was my first ever wrestler interview from WCW.
Wow.
Reach out. Oh my God. So yeah, that's where it started for me. And then I interviewed people like Christy Knowings from all that. And there's the adult entertainment industry. Dude, it's all facets of life. So if people want to check that out, they can go to my SoundCloud or StephenMikeShow.com.
Do you prefer doing these over video or audio, or does it bother you?
Neither. I mean, for me, I was always about A and C. And for those that don't know what A and C means, it's about accommodation and comfortability with your guests. So
Yeah.
some people like audio, some people like video. And I think a lot of people don't want video because it's like they don't want to get dressed up. They just want to sit in their pajamas and just not be seen because, or whatever. But I understand that. And some people prefer audio. So it doesn't matter. Either way, whatever makes them comfortable, I am here to accommodate to.
Yeah, there was only one person that I've done that well, I haven't had an interview with him yet, but he used to be a photographer for WWE, and he said to me that he didn't want to be on video, and I was like, that's cool, but we haven't rescheduled it yet. But like I've done, I think this is episode 165 now, but all of them have been video, so I think one without the video would just look strange maybe on my channel at this point. But we're still going to record it. He's a nice guy.
Well, that's how you have to look at it, man. And first and foremost, I mean, you could just put a photo over that, or you could do something to, like I said, for the accommodation factor. But it's
Yeah.
it's not for everybody when it comes to video. Some people don't want to be seen, and I'll be honest with you, I wasn't as comfortable either too, Maurice, because I'm not, with our appearances. Sometimes it's like you don't even want to have your photo taken, as they say, it steals your soul. So I mean, you get accustomed to it, and you get comfortable, and you really open yourself out and broaden your horizon. So it takes time.
Yeah, you're comfortable with your photos being taken now from the photos I've seen from the event anyway.
Oh my goodness, yes, but no, that was that. Oh, I gotta say,
You've got a few with wandering eyes.
good Lord. Yeah. So for those who want to see those, you got to thank Getty Images and Richard Enber, who I love to death, the LFC photographer, later regard photography. There's some wandering eyes. You'll see it in the graphic that Maurice put up here.
Yes, it's on the thumbnail for this video.
Yes. Terry Feisty Fist London, man. How could I not? First and foremost, that's my friend right there. I wasn't expecting her going up to me and be all lovey with the friggin' interview. I'm like, all right, here we go, Terry. I love Terry. Sweetheart of a person.
Yeah. If you're looking at 2022 now, man, what's the plan for the year, podcast wise and LFC wise? What are your goals?
What's the plan for me, man? Well, for me, it's just to keep living and just to keep going onward and upward. Do some more ring announcing. I believe we're supposed to have more LFC shows. We're going back to Sturgis, Vegas, whatever comes up. I just want to make the most of my opportunities and to continue to interview, man, and just continue to grind. Because I mean, like I said, if I would have told you that Michael Larkin from 2010, who was graduating high school, East Islip High School, that I'd be ring announcing 11 years later, that I'd be on Roku and really just doing something that I love, we told you we're nuts, but I really found myself and I found my purpose. And for me, it's just onward and upward. Continue to do some ring announcing, continue interviewing, and just continuing doing what I do.
You need to talk to your boss, Sean. We're coming to Dallas in 10 weeks' time. We need to go see an LFC show.
Hey,
I know it's pretty tight time wise.
well, man, we got WrestleMania and stuff, and who wouldn't want LFC be a part of the WrestleMania weekend? So yes, go to Dallas, Texas. I love it. I would personally love it. I mean, we've been to Las Vegas, we've been to Sturgis, we've been to so many places. So Texas would be one of them. Everything's bigger in Texas.
Yeah, I think because there'll be thousands of wrestling fans there all week, I think it would have been cool to have it like maybe on a Wednesday, Thursday, even Friday, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, why not? You know what I'm saying? The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, maybe Vince McMahon might come in with a few quid and maybe put you down on the pre-show.
God damn it, pal! You want to do this lingerie LFC? It's such good shit.
Oh man, it was great to catch up with you today, man. I know we've talked about this for a long, long time.
Same, man. And I look at it from a stance too. I got to thank a lot of great people very quickly. I got to thank my Nicola, Robert, Amir, Dazzy, so many people. My best friend Steve, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be doing this. And there's a lot of stuff that I move onward and upward because of them, and they're my dear friends. And I also got to say, the big shout out goes here, not just to the person behind Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, but a woman who is a very important person in my life and who just had a birthday. Happy birthday, Mom! Mwah. I love you, and I got to thank my parents and just everybody, including yourself, because if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, then why would I do it? And I appreciate everyone's support. And Maurice, I got to add you, man, because you got to come on the LFC podcast with me, sir.
I will come on for sure, definitely.
Oh my goodness, dude, it's such a pleasure and a privilege. I can't stop smiling ever since we were talking about doing this. I'm glad that we got the chance. Thank you.
Yeah. And we will do it again this year at some point. When there's a show coming up, we may need to come on. We may need to do it together and maybe have a double interview.
Hey man, the possibilities are endless. I love it. Anytime I get to work with you, and anytime I get to work with a lot of great people, because I'll be honest with you, and I say this to everybody, podcasting is great, but the connections and the friendships you make, like I made with yourself, Maurice, just goes through podcasting, brother.
Yeah. Mike, I'm going to put all the descriptions for your social media, all the links in the bio for this video. And thanks very much today, man. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you. Support Maurice, support myself. Thank you, brother.
You can go back to bed now.
Oh, dude, I'm already awake. I'm good.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, sir.